In this video, we're going to go over the history of the Neo Geo and how it was a vital part of the gaming console wars. The year was 1990. As Nintendo and Sega battled for supremacy in the home console market, a revolutionary new system was about to redefine the boundaries between arcade and home gaming. On January 31st in Osaka, Japan, SNK Corporation unveiled a machine that promised to bring uncompromised arcade-quality gaming into living rooms across the world. This was the Neo Geo, a daring attempt to bridge the gap between coin-op, cabinets, and home consoles. With its powerful hardware and massive game cartridges, the Neo Geo was poised to set a new standard in home entertainment. But to understand the significance of this groundbreaking system, we need to step back and examine its origins. The story of the Neo Geo begins in 1978 when Eikichi Kawasaki founded SNK, Shin Nihon Kikaku, in Osaka, Japan. Initially focused on the flourishing arcade market, SNK established itself with popular titles like Ikari Warriors, Athena, and Alpha Mission throughout the 1980s. However, Kawasaki harbored more ambitious plans. He envisioned a system that could deliver identical experiences whether in an arcade or at home. The development of the Neo Geo hardware commenced in the late 1980s, building upon SNK's existing arcade technology. The system was engineered around a Motorola 68000 main processor clocked at 12 MHz, working in tandem with a Slug Z80 coprocessor running at 4 MHz. This dual processor configuration enabled remarkable performance, particularly in managing the large, detailed sprites that would become a hallmark of Neo Geo games. However, raw processing power alone wasn't sufficient to achieve SNK's goals. To truly replicate the arcade experience at home, they needed to think on a grander scale, quite literally. The Neo Geo was designed to use cartridges with a capacity of up to 330 megabits, dwarfing the size of typical home console games of the era. These enormous cartridges allowed for the inclusion of massive character sprites, fluid animation, and high-quality audio samples that were previously exclusive to arcade machines. On April 26, 1990, SNK launched the first iteration of the Neo Geo, the Multi-Video System, or MVS. This arcade platform introduced several innovations to the coin-op world. Instead of dedicated cabinets for each game, the MVS allowed arcade operators to easily swap cartridges in and out of a single unit. The system was available in various configurations, including 1-slot, 2-slot, 4-slot, and even 6-slot varieties. This flexibility was a major selling point as it reduced costs for arcade owners and allowed them to quickly change games based on popularity. The MVS was an instant hit in the arcade market. Its power and versatility appealed to both operators and game developers. SNK swiftly began populating the system with high-caliber titles, many of which would evolve into legendary franchises. The launch lineup featured games like Nam 1975, a side-scrolling shooter, and Magician Lord, a challenging platformer that showcased the system's graphical capabilities. The true revolution, however, came on July 1st, 1991, when SNK released the home version of the Neo Geo, the Advanced Entertainment System, or AES. This was the realization of Kawasaki's vision, a home console that could play the exact same games as its arcade counterpart, with zero compromises in quality. The AES was a technical marvel for its time. Its specifications were nothing short of extraordinary for a home console of the early 1990s. At its core was a 1632-bit Motorola 68000 main processor running at 12 MHz, complemented by an 8-bit Slug Z80 coprocessor at 4 MHz. The system boasted 64 kilobytes of RAM for the main CPU, along with an additional 84 kilobytes of video RAM. In terms of graphics, the Neo Geo was in a league of its own. It could display 4,096 colors on screen simultaneously from a palette of 65,536 and support up to 380 sprites on screen at once, with a maximum sprite size of 16 by 512 pixels. This allowed for incredibly detailed and smooth character animations that were previously unseen in home consoles. The system's audio capabilities were equally impressive. Sound was handled by a Yamaha YM2610 chip, providing 15 channels of audio, including support for high-quality sampled sounds. This allowed for CD-quality music and clear voice samples, adding another layer of arcade authenticity to the home experience. The AES console itself was a departure from the more toy-like appearance of its contemporaries. Its sleek black design presented it as a serious piece of gaming hardware, emphasizing its premium status in the market. The controllers, too, were a standout feature. Essentially miniature arcade control panels, they featured a robust joystick and 4 large convex buttons arranged in an arcade-style layout. This design choice further emphasized the Neo Geo's commitment to bringing the arcade experience home. However, all this power and authenticity came at a steep price. When the AES launched in North America, it carried a staggering price tag of $649.99, equivalent to over $1,300 in 2023. Individual game cartridges could cost anywhere from $200 to $300 each. This positioned the Neo Geo as a luxury item, far beyond the reach of the average gamer. Despite its prohibitive cost, the Neo Geo found a dedicated audience. Hardcore arcade enthusiasts were willing to pay a premium for the ability to play their favorite coin-op titles at home without any compromises. The system also appealed to fighting game aficionados, who appreciated the pixel-perfect accuracy of its arcade ports. The Neo Geo's game library swiftly began to fill with arcade-perfect conversions of SNK's biggest hits. Fighting games became a particular specialty, with franchises like Fatal Fury, Art of Fighting, and Samurai Showdown setting new benchmarks for the genre. These games fully utilized the Neo Geo's capabilities, featuring enormous character sprites that occupied a third of the screen and intricate special move animations that put other home console fighters to shame. Fatal Fury, released in 1991, was especially significant. Created by Takashi Nishiyama, who had previously worked on the original Street Fighter at Capcom, Fatal Fury introduced innovative mechanics like two-plane fighting and the ability to dodge into the background. Its sequel, Fatal Fury 2, released in 1992, further refined the formula and became one of the Neo Geo's most popular titles. But the Neo Geo's appeal extended beyond just fighting games. The system played host to a diverse array of genres, all benefiting from its arcade-grade hardware. The Metal Slug series, which debuted in 1996, redefined run-and-gun action games with its incredibly detailed sprite work and smooth animation. Sports titles like Neo Turf Masters, 1996, brought a unique arcade-style approach to golf. Puzzle games, shoot-'em-ups, and even racing games all found a home on the system, each pushing the hardware in new and impressive ways. One of the Neo Geo's most innovative features was its memory card system. This allowed players to save their progress or high scores at home, and then take that data to the arcade, continuing their game on the MVS cabinet. It was a pioneering example of cross-platform save functionality, years before such features became commonplace. The Neo Geo's unique position in the market allowed it to carve out a niche that was largely unaffected by the broader console wars. While Nintendo and Sega vied for mainstream dominance with their 16-bit systems, SNK was content to cater to a smaller, but intensely loyal customer base. This strategy proved effective in the long run. While other consoles typically had lifespans of 5 to 6 years, the Neo Geo remained in active production until 1997, a full 6 years after its initial release. Even more remarkably, SNK continued to release new games for the platform all the way until 2004, giving the Neo Geo an unprecedented 14-year lifespan. Throughout its extended life, the Neo Geo saw continuous refinement in both hardware and software. Later revisions of the AES console were more compact and energy efficient than the original models. Game developers, meanwhile, continued to push the system to its limits, discovering new ways to extract even more impressive visuals and performance from the aging hardware. The King of Fighters series, which debuted in 1994, became an annual showcase for the evolution of Neo Geo game design. Each new installment pushed the envelope further, with larger character rosters, more intricate backgrounds, and increasingly elaborate special moves. By the late 1990s, games like Guru were demonstrating 2D animation and artwork that rivaled or surpassed many of the 3D games on more modern systems. As the 1990s progressed, the gaming landscape began to shift dramatically. The advent of 3D graphics and the rise of new competitors like Sony's PlayStation posed significant challenges for SNK and the Neo Geo. In 1994, SNK made its first attempt to adapt to the changing times with the release of the Neo Geo CD. This new system was essentially the same hardware as the AES, but it used CD-ROMs instead of cartridges. The move to CDs allowed SNK to dramatically reduce the cost of games, with titles now priced around $50 instead of $200 to $300. The Neo Geo CD, however, came with its own set of challenges. While it offered more affordable games, it suffered from lengthy load times due to its single-speed CD drive. Players accustomed to the instant access of cartridges now had to endure loading periods of up to 30 seconds between matches in fighting games. Despite these drawbacks, the Neo Geo CD found some success, particularly in Japan, where it allowed a wider audience to experience Neo Geo games. By March 1997, SNK reported that the Neo Geo CD and AES had sold a combined total of 980,000 units worldwide. While modest compared to mainstream consoles, these figures demonstrated the enduring appeal of SNK's hardware and games. In the arcade sector, the Neo Geo MVS continued to thrive, with SNK shipping 1 million MVS units worldwide by April 1997. The late 1990s saw some of the Neo Geo's most technically impressive releases. Games like The King of Fighters in '98 and Metal Slug X pushed the hardware to its limits, featuring intricate animations, detailed backgrounds, and complex gameplay systems that would have seemed impossible in the system's early years. Metal Slug, which debuted in 1996, became one of the Neo Geo's defining franchises. Developed by Nazca Corporation, later acquired by SNK, the series set new standards for 2D run-and-gun action games. Each character sprite in Metal Slug was composed of hundreds of frames of animation, resulting in incredibly smooth and expressive movements. The attention to detail extended to the game's environments, with destructible scenery and numerous visual gags hidden throughout each level. The success of Metal Slug spawned several sequels, with Metal Slug 3, released in 2000, often cited as the pinnacle of the series. This entry expanded on the formula with branching paths, rideable vehicles, and even more outlandish enemies and set pieces. It demonstrated that even a decade after its launch, the Neo Geo hardware was capable of delivering fresh and exciting gaming experiences. In the fighting game arena, SNK continued to innovate. The King of Fighters series, which began in 1994, became an annual event, with each new installment refining and expanding upon its predecessor. The series was known for its large rosters of characters drawn from various SNK franchises, as well as its team-based gameplay mechanics. The Last Blade, released in 1997, showcased some of the most beautiful 2D artwork ever seen in a video game. Set in feudal Japan, the game featured a unique blend of traditional samurai weaponry and supernatural elements. Its sequel, The Last Blade 2, 1998, further refined the gameplay and visuals, cementing the series as a cult classic. Garou: Mark of the Wolves, released in 1999, was another late-period masterpiece for the Neo Geo. A sequel to the Fatal Fury series, Garou featured some of the most fluid animation and detailed character designs ever seen on the system. Its innovative top system, tactical offense position, added a new layer of strategy to fights, allowing players to customize their characters' strengths based on their health bar. The fighting game community, in particular, remained fiercely loyal to the Neo Geo. Titles like King of Fighters '98 and Samurai Showdown 2 became tournament staples, praised for their deep mechanics and excellent balance. Even as 3D fighters like Tekken and Virtua Fighter gained popularity on other platforms, many fighting game purists stuck with SNK's 2D offerings. However, as the millennium approached, SNK faced increasing challenges. The decline of the arcade market, combined with a shift towards 3D gaming, put immense financial pressure on the company. In an attempt to keep up with the changing landscape, SNK developed the Hyper Neo Geo 64 in 1997. This new arcade system was capable of rendering 3D polygonal graphics, but it failed to gain traction in the market. Only 7 games were ever released for the Hyper Neo Geo 64, including the 3D fighting game Samurai Showdown 64 and the rail shooter Beast Busters: Second Nightmare. Plans for a home console version were ultimately scrapped. The failure of the Hyper Neo Geo 64 was a significant setback for SNK, both financially and in terms of market positioning. It highlighted the company's struggle to transition from its 2D expertise into the 3D era that was now dominating the gaming industry. In 2000, SNK faced a major upheaval when it was acquired by Aruz, a company primarily known for pachinko machines. This acquisition led to a shift in focus away from traditional video games, much to the dismay of SNK's loyal fan base. The following year, in October 2001, SNK filed for bankruptcy, marking the end of an era for both the company and the Neo Geo. However, the story didn't end there. In an unexpected turn of events, SNK's founder, Aikichi Kawasaki, and several other former employees formed a new company called Playmore. They managed to reacquire many of SNK's assets, including the rights to most of their game franchises. This led to the formation of SNK Playmore, later renamed back to simply SNK, which continues to operate today. Remarkably, even after SNK's bankruptcy and resurrection, new games continued to be released for the Neo Geo. The very last official release, Samurai Showdown 5 Special, came out on October 19, 2004, a full 14 years after the system's debut. This gave the Neo Geo the longest lifespan of any video game console in history, a testament to the enduring appeal of its games and the loyalty of its fan base. In February 2007, Nintendo announced that Neo Geo games would be coming to the Wii's Virtual Console. The first 3 games released were Fatal Fury, Art of Fighting, and World Heroes. This was followed by releases on other platforms, including Xbox Live Arcade and PlayStation Network. As of February 2009, Fatal Fury Special, Samurai Showdown 2, and Metal Slug 3 were available on Xbox Live Arcade, with more titles announced for future release. These re-releases have introduced a new generation of players to these beloved games. The ability to play Neo Geo classics on modern hardware has helped to preserve these games and ensure that they continue to be enjoyed by players around the world. It has also allowed a wider audience to experience games that were once prohibitively expensive or difficult to find. The legacy of the Neo Geo also lives on through the efforts of the homebrew community. In 2006, a new game called Last Hope was released for the Neo Geo AES by an independent developer. Running at 60 FPS and showcasing both hand-drawn and CG graphics, Last Hope demonstrated that the Neo Geo hardware was still capable of impressive feats even 16 years after its debut. This sparked a renewed interest in developing for the Neo Geo. Games like Xenocrisis and Krautbuster show that there's still room for innovation on this decades-old hardware. The Neo Geo's influence can also be seen in the world of FPGA, Field Programmable Gate Array hardware. Devices like the Mister allow for highly accurate hardware emulation of retro systems, including the Neo Geo. This has provided a new way for enthusiasts to experience Neo Geo games with minimal latency and near-perfect accuracy. In 2012, SNK attempted to capitalize on nostalgia for the brand with the release of the Neo Geo X. This handheld device came preloaded with 20 classic Neo Geo games and could be connected to a television via a docking station. While the Neo Geo X received mixed reviews and was discontinued after only a year, it demonstrated that there was still significant interest in the Neo Geo brand and games. 2018 saw the release of the Neo Geo Mini, a miniature arcade cabinet preloaded with 40 classic games. This release coincided with SNK's 40th anniversary and was met with generally positive reception, particularly from longtime fans happy to have an easy way to replay their favorite titles. The Neo Geo Mini's success showed that there was still a strong market for Neo Geo games, even decades after the original hardware's discontinuation. The influence of the Neo Geo can also be seen in the broader trend of retro gaming and nostalgia-driven products in the video game industry. The success of mini consoles like the NES Classic Edition and the PlayStation Classic can be seen as following in the footsteps of the Neo Geo's high niche appeal. Throughout its lifespan, the Neo Geo's impact on the gaming industry was significant. It pushed the boundaries of what was possible in a home console gaming, raising the bar for graphics and sound quality. Its focus on arcade-perfect ports helped to blur the line between home and arcade gaming, paving the way for future consoles that would eventually surpass arcade hardware in terms of power and capabilities. The system's long lifespan also had a profound impact on game design, particularly in the fighting game genre. The annual releases of series like The King of Fighters allowed developers to refine and iterate on their game mechanics year after year, leading to some of the most technically deep and balanced fighting games ever created. In addition to its technical achievements, the Neo Geo also played a crucial role in preserving and evolving 2D game design well into the 3D era. While other developers rushed to embrace polygons, SNK continued refining sprite-based graphics to new levels of detail and fluidity. This dedication to 2D art has had a lasting influence, inspiring modern indie developers who continue to create games in this style. The Neo Geo's unique business model, straddling both the arcade and home markets, also left its mark on the industry. While ultimately unsustainable in the long term, it demonstrated the potential for high-end, niche gaming hardware. This philosophy can be seen echoed in later products like gaming PCs and premium console variants like the Xbox One X or PlayStation 4 Pro. As the Neo Geo's active lifespan drew to a close, its legacy was already secure. The system had redefined what was possible in 2D gaming, pushed the boundaries of sprite-based graphics, and cultivated a library of games that would be celebrated for decades to come. Its influence would continue to be felt in the gaming industry long after the last Neo Geo rolled off the production line. In the years following the Neo Geo's discontinuation, the system has taken on a legendary status among retro gaming enthusiasts. Original AES consoles and games have become highly sought-after collectibles, with rare titles fetching astronomical prices. The European version of Kizuna Encounter, for example, is considered one of the rarest and most valuable video games of all time, with only 5 known copies in existence. In 2009, a single copy reportedly sold for over $55,000, highlighting the extreme lengths some collectors would go to complete their Neo Geo libraries. The collecting scene for Neo Geo hardware and games has become one of the most passionate in retro gaming. The rarity of certain titles, combined with the system's legendary status, has led to some of the highest prices in the vintage game market. Complete AES games in good condition can sell for thousands of dollars, with rare titles fetching even more. This has made Neo Geo collecting a serious pursuit, with dedicated collectors often specializing in specific areas like complete AES libraries or MVS conversion kits. The MVS, multi-video system arcade hardware, has also found a second life among collectors and arcade enthusiasts. The ability to easily swap game cartridges has made the MVS a popular choice for home arcade setups. Collectors can experience a wide variety of Neo Geo games without the need for multiple dedicated arcade cabinets. This has led to a thriving market for MVS cartridges, which are generally more affordable than their AES counterparts. The Neo Geo's legacy extends far beyond the collector's market, however. Its influence can be seen in the ongoing popularity of 2D fighting games, many of which still use sprite-based graphics or 2.5-dimensional visuals that evoke the Neo Geo era. The system's commitment to arcade-perfect home ports also set a standard that influenced the industry for years to come. Moreover, Neo Geo games have found new life through various re-releases and compilations. Thanks for joining me on this trip through Neo Geo's history. If there's any interesting gaming phenomena you'd like me to cover, let me know in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification button so that you don't miss more videos like this one. See you next time.